Aaron and I have the distinct pleasure of introducing our next guest speaker, which, hang on, I have to find her so that I can bring her up to stage. I got you, Norma. Hi, Norma.
Hi,
Welcome.
Jay.
So, Norma is amazing. She's a client of mine, and she's going to talk today about authenticity as a business strategy, the competitive advantage every leader needs in the age of AI. Norma is known as the godmother of authenticity. She's a world's leading authority on authenticity as a foundation for personal growth, leadership, and organizational success. She's created and trademarked the authenticity grid, which she'll share with you today, an assessment, transforming authenticity into a practical, measurable system for leadership development. And something that's not in her bio that I'll share with you guys is Norma used to own a speakers bureau. So she is eminently qualified to be a speaker on this summit and talk to us. But today she's going to be sharing about her amazing authenticity grid. So, Norma, welcome. Love having you here. And I'm turning it over to you.
Thank you, Jay. I appreciate that. Let me just make sure I do have sharing abilities, right?
You do.
Okay, wonderful. Thank you. Well, it's great to be here and especially to be introduced by my coach, Jay Fairbrother. I am going to be talking to you about competitive advantage. And while I'm setting up my slides, I want you to think about what you think is the greatest competitive advantage that we're dealing with right now. And I'm going to tell you why, what I think it is. Why is that coming up like that? What is that? Okay.
Wrong screen.
Wrong screen for sure. Let me get this one going. And let me go to the beginning of it. And let me do these slideshow and get that going. Thank you. Eventually, I'll learn how to do that before I get started. Thank you very much for your patience. The next competitive advantage you probably think is technology. That's what we hear a lot with AI coming on and robots and all of that. But actually, it is not technology. It is humanity. Humanity. And that's what I have been studying for over 40 years. And it started when I was 28. And I was 28, I asked the question, what does it mean to be human on planet Earth? What does it mean to be human on planet Earth? I wonder how you might answer that question if you were doing that. I had no idea it would take me 30 years to get the answer. Excuse me, 40 years, 30 years of research and a dozen more years of testing out what came through me. And it led me to study authenticity. What I learned, I was told by a coach that what I had done is I had studied authenticity. And what I did when I began to ask the question, what does it mean to be human? I looked around for books to tell me what it means to be human. I could not find one that spoke to the process of being human on planet Earth. And then I decided that I would, what happened is also, the reason I was studying it is because I had been married and I realized I became my parents' version of who they thought a Black woman should be in America. I had the husband who had a good job. I had a good job. We had house, we had cars, we had money in the bank, all the things that's supposed to make you deliriously happy. And I was deliriously miserable. And I didn't know what to do with myself. So I began to study, who am I? And I started by identifying energies within me. I found 9 different energies flowing in and out of me. And then I decided to put a name of an animal to each energy. So we know an animal's energy a little easier. An elephant's different than a jaguar. An owl is different than a rabbit. The energy is different. And we have energy like that flowing within us. And I turned it into a rug that was a grid because I then studied things like Freud and Jung and astrology, astronomy, numerology, and put all those things together and came up with a grid. And what I learned, what I discovered is that human beings operate from an internal architecture. Once I finished my program, and I had written 9 books, one for each of the 9 aspects of my program, I went around the country and I asked the speakers. At that point, I had my speaker bureau, And it was in the early 2000s, and internet was just started. And I had a lot of people who were following me. And I asked them to bring me to their city so that I could introduce this authenticity program to the speakers in that city. And I went to 20 cities in 18 months. And as I did that, I learned so much more about the work that I had done. And that's when I realized that when the architecture is aligned, everything changes. So human energy is something we don't talk about a lot. We did Olympics, they always talk about energy at that point, but they never talk about human energy. So what I was looking at is authenticity works better when it's with alignment. Now, authenticity is, I used to always say, good feelings and alignment, and not alignment, but genuineness, trustworthiness. That was when I began. And when I began, I was looking at authenticity for human beings. The self-awareness is what I talked about, acceptance, self-acceptance, expression of who you are. And then alignment came up a little bit later, and alignment is the intentional positioning of our authentic human energy so that who we are, what we value, and how we contribute it, and where we serve, they all work together in harmony. That's one of the things we're missing in life a lot now, is the harmony that comes from the alignment, that comes from the authenticity. So technically, authenticity influences alignment, and alignment strengthens authenticity. They exist in a continuous relationship. It's hard to be authentic without being in alignment. But when they exist together, human energy flourishes in a way that it's just amazing. Individuals experience it in one way. When I watch people take my classes, I've been giving classes for several years about authenticity and helping people step into it. I find that they come in, they're kind of crunched down, that as we go through the class, they just sit up better and their confidence just exudes. They get clearer on their purpose. We talk about purpose. Most of us, if those are coaches and what have you, we feel purpose is important. They have higher engagement. They find work more meaningful, and that's something that's missing a lot. People found when COVID came that they were very happy being at home working because they could do more what they wanted to do. And then their expression, authentic expression came out. But when organizations experience authenticity and alignment working together, their whole environment gets more energized. People get more energized. There's better communication, collaboration is stronger, innovation, which comes from a clear mind, it begins to expand, and the performance becomes more sustainable. So authenticity becomes a business strategy because it transforms humans' energy into organizational results. Now my slides decide not to work. Come. Well, I hate to have to, come on, slide. I apologize. And it's not giving me an arrow to go through. I don't have to do this without it.
Did you click on the screen itself on the slide and then hit your arrow over and see if that works?
Thank you very much. So the future doesn't belong to AI, it belongs to AI squared. Artificial intelligence aligned with authentic intelligence becomes AI squared, AI2. Now it wants to go back. Okay, stop having a mind of your own, please. One more. Okay. So one expands capacity and the other determines purpose. And you need both. You need the AI. People used to ask me, Norma, you're all about authenticity. How can you be in favor of AI? Well, I can't change it. So in life, it's about adapting. So how do you adapt to AI? And then how do you adapt to it along with the authentic intelligence that was there all along, our human intelligence? We can't deny that. So the human advantage then comes into play. And the human advantage looks at authenticity and energy as important. Technology can process information, but only people create meaning. So I've come to learn that my 40 years of research that started with me asking the question, what does it mean to be human in planet Earth, turned into the human energy operating system. This is based on my 40 years of research and about 20 years of application in the world with organizations and individuals. And essentially, when I was 28, what I recognized is that we each have these three different parts of ourselves. We have an inner voice that asks, who am I? What's my purpose? What's my values? What's my beliefs? What's my truth? How does my energy flow? We have an outer voice that talks about how I show up in the world, your behavior, your impact, relationships, results, and an expressive voice, how you communicate your truth, your voice, your message, your influence, and your presence. And all of that surrounds your authentic core, the source of your authentic energy. So I want to break down my authenticity grid before I show it to you. I've come to understand that it has three basic aspects to it. One grid, 9 dimensions, 3 dynamics, and 3 domains. And it may sound complicated. It is not. But you understand, as human beings, we are multidimensional. We have multiple dimensions. We're not just a single view of us. We're all a huge body of knowledge. And so breaking that down to understand it and then to teach it is what the grid is about. So aspect number 1 are the dimensions. And that talks about what is measured. And so far, authenticity has not been a measurable experience. We have made it measurable. So like I told you about the 9 energies I found in myself, those became the dimensions of my authenticity grid. Each one is a complete body of knowledge in itself. It makes it available for coaches and organizations to zero in on where the areas of energy leaks might exist. We hear the word energy leaks a lot, especially with coaches. But what about knowing the source of the leak, the dimension of the energy that is leaking? So starting at 12 o'clock, the first 3 dimensions are intuition, how you listen to yourself, integrity, your values, and inspiration, how you inspire yourself versus motivation. Inspiration is the inside, motivation comes from the outside. How is that aligned, those 3 dimensions? Then the next 3 dimensions is net wellness, net work, and net wealth. Net wellness, how you take care of yourself, your body, your relationships. How do you network? Your quality and quantity relationships. And then when it comes to wealth, we look at wealth with authenticity, not as money, but as joy and abundance. When I directed Head Start programs in my first career, I met a lot of people who had no money, but had so much joy. And when I had my bureau, I met a lot of people that had a lot of money, but not joy. Which do you prefer? Most of us prefer, I know we need the money, but in the bottom line, we're looking for joy and abundance. And then the third area of the dimensions is the legacy. Now here again, where legacy in the world is what your people, your parents and all leave to you. Legacy and authenticity is what was given to you by your creator when you were born and how have you used it. And then likability, your personality and how you connect and build rapport with people. And then lifestyle, your day-to-day habits and how you live your life. And these give you insight to your personal strengths and where you are vulnerable, your values, behaviors, and patterns, and where you grow and how to evolve. So this is one area of the authenticity grid that coaches can use to work with their clients and organizations can use to find where the energy mishaps and where it's not aligned. One of the premises of this whole program that I'm suggesting to you today is that employees should be aligned with where their energy is, their natural energy. That way you do create more success and growth. The second aspect is the domains. Now, these are the pillars. These are the strength where your energy resides. And it speaks to kind of how you see the world. People either come from inner voice, the relationship with self, or they come from outer voice, relationship with others, or they come from expressive voice, relationship with the world. Now, these reveal a different aspect of your authentic energy. You can gain insight into your clarity and confidence, your relational connections and impact, and your contribution as you're building your legacy. But it helps you look at yourself also, and then yourself within the organization. And then the third aspect is the dynamics, which is how the energy moves in and around you. The dynamics are the horizontal part of the authenticity grid. These three dynamics are processes because either we are thinking, and that's most common and easy for us, how you process and create ideas, how you evaluate, how you study, how you research, how you assess, you communicate, you share, and you connect with other people, or you're doing, you're moving in your action. People who are doers may not do a lot of thinking. People who are thinkers may not be as comfortable in doing. And you gain insight here into your mindset and decision-making, your communication and influence, and your actions and the results that you're getting. So these are the three areas that the grid, which is really very simplified compared to what you're looking at here. This is what you learn when you get into the program and decide to become a facilitator or to train with organizations to help them with these areas. And we'll talk about that in a little bit in terms of the value that it brings. But you can focus on an individual dimension. You can focus on an individual domain or an individual aspect of the dynamics. You can put them together, but if you look at the combination of that exists, this is the grid, the numbers from 1 to 9, and look at all the combinations that exist. An outer voice thinking person would be very strong probably in their net wellness, but they may be very weak in inspiration or vulnerable there. So it gives you a chance to see where your client's strengths are and where your client's vulnerabilities are. Now, one thing with authenticity, we don't necessarily suggest that if this is your vulnerability, go learn how to do it. That's what a lot of people or programs will tell you to do. But if that's your vulnerability, why not look at how can you fill this gap? It doesn't have to be just with you doing the activity. And that's where organizations come in, because it gives you a chance to look at the energy of team members. I spoke in February this year to a group of 500 engineers, and I had them self-select into groups based on their gifts and talents they were born with. That sets in the legacy dimension number 3 that you see on the grid. And I had a comment at the end of the session from one of the gentlemen that wasn't an engineer, obviously, and what he said was, "Wow, I figured that everybody would be in the mathematical logical area. Because after all, we're engineers. We have to be mathematical and logical. But I didn't realize," he said, "that engineers are also musicians and dancers and philosophers." And he went on and on about the other gifts. It was an eye-opening experience for him because, again, we are all multidimensional. We are not single-dimensional people. And here you can see 9 energies that all of us have. When I took to the country to go to 20 cities and share my program, every single person agreed with what I had put together. And then over the last few years, we have over 200 testimonials, most of them video, of people who have been a part of the program and how it has impacted them and actually changed their lives. So this is the Authenticity Grid, an architecture of authentic human potential, focusing on energy. An energy management system is what I called it originally. I didn't realize that it was an energy operating system, but it seems like that is what I have created because I was looking for the architecture. What's the architecture of our human energy? What does it mean to be human on planet Earth? So when it comes to the individual, it's a very simple process to find, align, live, and give. That's the journey to authentic human energy. First, we want you to find it. That is the assessment. We have an online assessment that will give you just 9 questions, 9 easy questions that you score yourself on a score to 0 to 10 of how much you have integrated that particular energy in your life. When you have finished that, you get a chance to see what is your authentic capacity. because the capacity may not be what you're doing right now, but it may be a look at how all the energies come together within you. We are all different. Our energies flow differently. Once we understand them, we become more self-accepting of who we are. We accept who we are, and now we're ready to align. Align means developing an authentic lifestyle. Essentially, what we ask you to do when you finish the assessment is to tweak one thing. Just find one thing in one dimension of the grid where you feel somewhat vulnerable. We talk to you about your business and where you're going, and then we help you see how that vulnerability may be impacting your life personally and professionally. Usually there is a connection, and when you see it, then you can identify what one thing you want to tweak. And then to live with courage, to speak up, step up, and be yourself. When I did my market research on authenticity, and I asked the questions about what are your greatest fears, challenges, and frustrations with regard to authenticity, the number one answer that I received was, I'm afraid to speak up. And that happens all of the time. You probably have been there yourself. And my response to that is silence is expensive. And it's expensive for you because you don't get your needs met when you are silent. And it's expensive for organizations because organizations, and many of them, especially those who still are operating under the industrial age hierarchy, people become scared to speak up. Because if they speak up and what they say is not accepted, then they feel their job may be in cahoots and they may have challenges there. Or they may feel that their boss may steal their ideas and steal their energy. So living with courage is really important. And when you are authentic, you live with courage a lot easier. And then to give. Now, on an individual basis, people do like to give. I'm sure you say that yourself. And on a business side, sometimes people do not get a chance to really contribute to the business because they're placed in the wrong placement. Their energy is not aligned with their job. When your energy is not aligned, you get exhausted. It's very tiring to try to be someone you're not. I remember when I had my bureau, well, let me go back to my early childhood. My first career was directing early childhood programs, and I was just amazed and delighted by how happy-go-lucky these children were in preschool programs. They would learn that they could sing and they'd be excited about that. And then they go home and they tell Mommy, I can sing. Let me hear you. Let me sing for you. And Mommy had a busy day and she'll say, don't sing now, sing later. Let me cook dinner. And then the child begins to lose some of their authenticity. But nonetheless, they've got that happy-go-lucky. But then when I had my bureau, people would come to me and say, I've been on this job 10, 20, 30 years, and I have lost myself having to be the person they want me to be on the job. How can I find myself again? So if we can help people be themselves from the beginning, that would make a big difference. Another way that I talk about authenticity is that we don't become authentic. We remember who we were before life taught us to be someone else. And then we spend the rest of our lives trying to peel off the mask that we put on, trying to be someone else, trying to get back to our authentic self. So why not be authentic in the first place and live that way? It'd make a big difference. Tweak one thing for 30 to 90 days, observe what changes, and then tweak the next thing. Transformation is a series of intentional tweaks. We talked about alignment being intentional. Transformation occurs when you make that decision intentionally of what you're going to shift. Now, for an organization, it's going on again. Let me see, click the screen. There we go. For an organization, business transformation begins with authentic human energy. If we can start with that in organizations, it is going to filter up. If individuals are aligned to their energy and their gifts and talents, and then they are in roles at the organizations that take advantage of their natural gifts and talents, it's easier for them to make a contribution to the organization. rather than being one of the disengaged employees that can't wait to get home after they get their paycheck. Now, when it gets to the teams, it really makes a difference when we talk about authenticity. We like to go into teams and give the whole team an authenticity assessment. And then we can look at the overall energy of the team. Are the team members mainly thinkers? Are they communicators? Are they doers? Is the team balanced? Does the team have the energy that it needs to do what it needs to do? If you have a team of marketers who are all thinkers, you probably aren't doing very well, because thinkers like to sit at home and figure stuff out, where doers like to be in the world and implement things. So understanding energy and aligning teams and the organization to the individual energies creates a whole new perspective of how you can create transformational change in organizations. And what that does for the organization is it changes the culture. It changes the culture to one where people enjoy coming to work. Now, it doesn't happen overnight. It takes time. It takes evaluating. It takes assessment. It takes a good thinker. It takes some good doers, and it takes some time. And some organizations may be very resistant to that, understandable. But if we're talking about end results, and if we're talking about an organization that recognizes that their culture is not supporting the move to AI, the anxiety about it, the changes, the disengagement that's coming, the fear that people have about it, this might be an excellent way to move past that. And for those of you who are brand new to moving into corporate, who need an idea and may not have your platform together, this might be one that you can consider. For coaches who are coaching corporate clients, this is something you consider. And then for speakers who are looking for a platform, this is something also that you can consider. As Jay mentioned, as I've mentioned as well, I used to own a speaker bureau. I was the first Black woman to own a speaker bureau for Black speakers. And as a result of that, actually, as I started that, when I went to these 20 cities, when I first started, this is what I did. I shared with them what authenticity is all about. And I helped them become more authentic speakers. This grid has so many aspects to it that they keep revealing themselves to me. And as my objective has from the beginning has always been, this is a foundation that I have created, and I want you and others to build on it. Many of them are. For example, Jay Thompson is my #1 trainer. He's on the call today, and he's been with me for about 4 years on and off. And he actually describes my program better than I do. But there are many times where founders have to pass things on to other people. And I willingly pass this on to society, to the world, because it's something that can really make a difference. Can make a difference, especially in education as well. So alignment is the do. Alignment is what you want to do with your organization, with yourself. Imagine knowing what becomes possible when you can really see authentic energy, authentic human energy. You begin to understand why a leader keeps repeating the same pattern, where his energy may be unaligning and may need some help. You may see which dimensions are draining someone's energy. When we talk about energy leaks, where is it leaking? Is the inner voice leaking? If it's the inner voice, which dimension? Is it intuition? Is it integrity? Is it inspiration? What do we do about it? Well, I mentioned that when I did the program, I also wrote 9 books. I wrote a book for each of the dimensions. And we're in the process right now of taking those books and turning them into online courses to make them available to coaches and organizations so that they have the full process of transforming one tweak at a time from where they are to where they can be. This is also how to measure meaningful progress. We have many measurement tools, but now you have a way to measure energy. Now, people generally think that in any assessment, your score should always go up. I have one lady who's been taking my assessment for, I don't know, maybe 20 years. And she comments that every time she takes it, her scores go down. And we asked her, why does that happen? And she says, because I'm more authentic with myself when I answer the questions. Sometimes you'll get people that give you all 10s because I'm just perfect. I know where I know who I am. Well, maybe you do, maybe you don't. And we can help them see that it's really not about perfection. It's not about getting a 10 on every score. It's about making sure your 9 dimensions are aligned. and that they're working and complementing each other. When they don't, that's when you have distractions. That's when you have problems. That's when you have challenges. And to learn knowing how one small tweak could change everything. The grid gives you a map instead of just assumptions. So what becomes possible? Clarity. Clarity for you, clarity for your organizations. And what we have learned is that when a person becomes authentic, the people around them become authentic as well. It's kind of contagious, and the energy just shares. And if we're looking to change energy, to change and transform, then you have to start with one person. In the corporate world, it's usually someone in the C-suite. That is the preference, because the leader is the organization is a shadow of the leader. And if the leader can understand it and grasp it and see the value, then it's a wonderful thing, and you begin to move into the total organization. So it also creates stronger relationships. In the authenticity process, we talk about relationships and communication with yourself, with others, and with the universe. When I asked a question about what does it mean to be human on planet Earth, I recognize that the world is bigger than planet Earth. We don't understand it enough, but we need to ask that question because energy is everywhere and it increases impact so that you lead with influence and natural authority. And it makes anything possible. We haven't even uncovered all the aspects of the grid and how energy, human energy particularly, is growing and moving and shifting. Higher performance. We know that's what corporate wants. We want that too. And the more aligned an individual is, the more aligned a team is, the more aligned an organization is, the higher performance is going to be. The more joy there is at work, the more fulfillment that comes, because fulfillment comes from doing meaningful work. And that happens when you are aligned. And I have the word experience there because you experience more purpose and joy. And we want to experience more. We want to experience a better world. We talk about that all the time. We may define it differently, but that's what we want. And alignment changes everything. Authentic alignment. So authenticity as a business strategy. When leaders lead from authenticity, organizations perform at their highest potential. It's not just personal, it is organizational, team-wise, complete company-wise. Builds trust. Trust, they say we're in the trust economy now, and trust needs to be built. You know, authenticity, the need for it is so rampant, it's like an epidemic. And it wouldn't be so important if inauthenticity wasn't so obvious. In my lifetime, I go back to the inauthenticity of grass many decades ago, and it just kept going and going and going. And now that we have AI clones, how will the younger people ever know what's real? How do they build trust in a world where trust is fake? So that's a real challenge that authenticity and aligned authenticity can help people to resolve and to take control over. Authenticity as a business strategy drives engagement. As I mentioned earlier, engagement took a big beating during COVID when businesses were shut down and people had a chance to work at home, and many never returned. They started entrepreneur work, they started different things, and engagement has taken a big beating. Before COVID, engagement in companies was only about 30%, and now it's dropped down about another 10%. And there's so many disengaged employees at organizations. So the need for cultural change is growing, particularly when there's depression because people feel their jobs are going to be taken over. But if they're not balanced with AI square, then they will take over. And it's important that we keep humanity and authenticity and alignment in the whole conversation as AI comes into our world. Retention. When employees work at a place that they like, they stay there longer. When they don't like the place, they leave faster, unless they just need the money. Now, we all do need the money, but we also want to stay someplace where we're known, where we are accepted, where we can be ourselves, where we can express ourselves, where we can be happy and joyful and abundant. And that bringing those to an organization would bring a lot more retention. And you wouldn't have that $200,000 to reinvestment in bringing on new employees. It improves communication. The program has a language of its own. And because it has a language of its own, you have an internal language that you would understand employee to employee that helps also to build a certain type of bond. These are intangible things that bring big tangible results and boost performance. Again, when employees are happy, they do better at work. So this is a way to help them become more authentic, become more aligned, and become more joyful. And as the CEOs love to know, it enhances profitability. Happy employees do bring greater results to organizations. So I mentioned the word experience. Life is an experience. Leadership is an experience. Why shouldn't it be more enjoyable? When authentic human energy is enabling people to find, align, live, and give, then their experience is more enjoyable at work. And they have more interest in being there and being with the people who support them and help them find, align, live, and give. So I have an invitation for you, an invitation for you to strengthen your authentic energy and get yourself more aligned. This is your moment to experience your authentic human energy. I invite you complimentary to take the authenticity assessment. It's 9 easy questions that are easy to answer, takes you about 5 minutes, and gain clarity about your energy and see where you are today. When you finish that assessment, you will get an invitation to meet with an authenticity advisor. These are individuals who have been certified in this authenticity process, and they will talk with you for an hour and go over your scores on your authenticity assessment, those 9 dimensions, those 9 areas that your energy resides in. And they will help you see where your strengths are and help you see where you are vulnerable, and have a conversation with you about how your vulnerabilities may be impacting both your personal and professional life. And then have a talk with you about what one thing would be best for you to tweak at this time. And then have a conversation about the series of intentional tweaks that you may want to make in order to strengthen your authenticity and get more in alignment. All right, now you're not working at all. Come on, guys. Look it this way. Oh, there it is. So my gift to you, your next step, to experience the clarity that changes everything. Take the assessment and have a conversation about what it might mean to your practice. Whether you've started your practice or have not started your practice, what would it mean to bring back some previous clients and let them take the assessment? Might start a whole new coaching path for you that might last a lot longer. When you bring it to others, it helps the authenticity grow. When I first started this, I would talk to people about imagine a society where people really were authentic, and that if you get authentic, it's going to wear off on the people who are near you. Energy shares energy, and then energy will shift. So just if one person chooses to be more authentic, it impacts the people around them. So this is your invitation. It's a gift from me that you can take the authenticity assessment. You have 2 choices here. You can take the regular assessment, which will give you your results, but not the interpretation. And with the VIP package, you will be able to take the assessment that gets you to the authenticity advisor. And I certainly would suggest to you to do that, because they are quite skilled in helping you see where your authenticity may be draining and what you might be able to do about it. So this has been my 40-year journey into understanding what does it mean to be human on planet Earth. What it means has a lot to do with being authentic, being your authentic self, sharing your authenticity, and moving yourself forward so that authenticity is an important part of your life. Authenticity and alignment changes everything if you choose to do it. I invite you to step into the world of authentic energy with your authenticity and alignment. Thank you, Jay. Oh, you're smiling. Oh, nice. You haven't seen that one, have you?
Let's have some love in the chat for Norma, please. Norma, that was amazing.
Thank you.
And if we have questions for Norma, we have some time. If you want to raise your hand, we'd love to have you come up and have questions with Norma. So, Norma, the thing that I love about what you're doing, which is totally pertinent to the audience here today, is that one aspect of this that, and you've been doing this for years, is the authenticity grid for individuals. But you also certify people in being able to take this and use it and teach it and deliver it to corporations. You've licensed it. You're creating the certification programs and that kind of thing. So you're the perfect person to exemplify what so many of the speakers here this 3 days are talking about, is additional ways to monetize beyond just doing keynotes and individual consulting and that kind of thing. So it's just brilliant. It's a brilliant model. And I have to just share one thing that just hits me every time I hear you give this example of the little kid coming home who wants to just learn to sing and wants to sing for their mom. And the mom is like, well, maybe later because I'm doing dishes. Boy, that hits me every time, and is just such a pertinent example of how our natural innate authenticity gets stripped away as we develop in the world, especially as children. So I see a couple of questions. So
okay, great.
let's bring up Joyce.
Yes, thank you so much. This is absolutely wonderful question. So putting people back into businesses, that's what I'm hearing.
Yes, for the humanity of people, yes.
And we can use AI also.
Yes, you can't get rid of it. You cannot not use it. Almost.
Cannot not use it. Got it.
Not really. If you really want to keep up, because the world's moving fast, you just have to align it properly, so you're not depending on it and not saying, it's everything. It's the mind, it's the processing. It's not the humanity. It's not the purpose. It's not the meaning. It's not the feeling. It's not the experience. And we need that. We need that. That's what our humanity is.
Yeah, putting humans back into businesses versus businesses into humans.
Yeah, that was one of the black screens I had, that the challenge is not so much AI. The challenge is that humans end up being more like AI, that we forget what it's like to be human. I read an article 10, 15 years ago, and it was doing some predictions for future work. And it talked about people that we're going to need therapists to help people understand what it means to be human.
Wow.
And I can see now how that's happening. So this program, which was channeled for me such a long time, I listened to my inner voice for a long time to create the program, and I can see why, because now it's needed. It's very necessary now. So another one of our teachings is to listen to your inner voice. You don't know where it might lead you.
Yeah, making sense, because for years I did transformational trainings, and what we talked about was be, do, have versus have, do, be. We taught have first, then you do what you do, and then you'll be happy. And we taught be happy, so you need to do what you need to do, and you will have happiness. Just people their brains couldn't grab onto that.
Yes.
And so 4 days we would work with that and what it means to be human. So thank you so much. Now, how would this transform businesses?
It transforms because it transforms people. When people become happier and more aligned, there's a study that's done. I don't have the details on it, but it's a study that's done that says that authenticity brings the highest vibration. They thought it was love, but people want to be who they are. They just want to be real. And you're taking, like they don't become authentic. They remember who they were before life told them to be somebody else. And that's what we do.
We're born authentic, and we learn not to be.
Yeah, we learn not to be. And our parents teach us that to begin without realizing they're doing it.
Yes.
But that's the whole society has that whole idea. So this is shifting the whole idea of learning, of being human, of all of that. It's a huge shift, but it's
Yeah.
time. We're at a shifting time. So why not shift this right into it?
Thank you.
Yes. And I forgot to mention that we do have a class starting on August the 20th. So if anyone is interested, there is time for you to enroll in our class coming up. So yes.
All right. Thank you,
Thank you, Joyce.
Joyce. And hey, Andrew, good to see you. Come
Hi,
on up.
Jay. Thank you. And thank you, Dr. Norman. This is new to me. However, I love the concept. And I mean, they say if you do what you love, you'll never work a day in your life.
Yes.
And Jay's story just reminded me of Eartha Kitt and her parents who were brought into school because she was overactive and they said, "What's wrong with our daughter?" They said, "Your daughter is a dancer." Um,
I didn't know that story. Thank you for sharing it.
yes. So my question is, if we obviously you have your course and this chart here is fascinating. So I'm wondering if we take the assessment, is that going to help us just to understand your whole process better, so that then we can make a next step, whether to read a book or take your course? I just want to understand what's going to happen for most people if they just take the assessment.
You know what? I'm going to ask Jay to answer that question for you. Jay is my master trainer, and he answers questions a little more corporately than I do. So I'm going to have him answer that question.
Jay, you're on the stage. Go ahead.
All righty. Well, Andrew, that's a great question. First of all, I think going through the assessment, the number one thing is you got to look at yourself before you can try to improve other people. And so that will be step one. As you go through that, we'll talk through how that impacts you personally, because whether you're a coach, whether you're a consultant, whether you're a trainer, speaker, whatever that is, the common denominator is going to be you. So we'll start there. And then we will talk about how to leverage that framework that she talked about of the 9 dimensions, the 3 domains, and the 3 dynamics. We'll talk about how to leverage that in your individual practice, whatever that may look like, from, if you're a coach or if you're a consultant. And we'll talk about how to use that, how to leverage that framework. And within that, we'll train you on what those dimensions are, how each of those interact with each other, how the 3 dimensions that fit within each of those domains, how all of that works. But one of the things is that I think within the system itself is that you're going to find is, Norma, with the authenticity grid, it's not about jump through this hoop to this hoop to this hoop. It's really it's understandable. It's easy to adapt to who you are. So you can put the concepts in your vernacular, right? And understand and kind of be able to do it that way. So I think when it comes to what you're going to get with the assessment, first, you're going to get an inside look into who you are. And then from that, how that impacts your business. And then how to then leverage that framework to grow your business.
Fantastic. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Jay. You had your hand up too. Did you want to say something?
Yeah, I just wanted something that Joyce had mentioned about how does it impact organizations. For me, one of the things I have found is the authenticity grid is a great tool for onboarding for organizations with new employees. And what it does is it gives everybody in the organization common language. You were talking about how we have a different understanding when you would say the word legacy, right? That some people would think this, some people would think that, or when you say inspiration or whatever. But one of the things that the authenticity grid specifically does for organizations is it gives every organization common language so that they begin to know how to leverage strengths and address vulnerabilities individually, teams, and the overall organization. And so that's one of the, simple is not the right word, I think one of the most impactful ways that it can help an organization.
Awesome.
Thank you, Jay.
Thanks, Jay. And Adina, you have a question?
Yes, first of all, I wanted to say thank you to Dr. Norma. I loved your presentation. The 2 big things I got out of it was enjoy what you do every day so you don't know when you're working.
Yes.
I have been doing this for 35 years. You know, when I started my business, I knew I had to get rid of corporate life. I have never looked back.
Mhm.
It has been amazing to do what you enjoy and you don't know when you're working. It's such a nice problem to have. Like this morning, I was talking to one of my attendees. I do seminars, and he says, I've known you 20 years and you're always joyful and you're always high energy and you're always positive. And I said, that's right. And I will always be this way. And I don't plan to retire because I enjoy it too much. And I
Great
took
place.
your test, your
Mhm.
assessment test, and I got a full score, 90 on 90.
All right. All right. Good.
That's
You're
it.
gonna meet with one of our advisors?
Oh, you can still do it? I thought it.
If with the VIP program, you can, yes.
Okay. I would
Yeah.
have to be VIP to do it.
Yes.
Okay. Sounds
Yes.
good.
Yes.
Thank
Sounds
you.
good. Yes, you're welcome.
Thanks.
You're welcome. And let me mention that the name of our class that's coming up on August 20th is Reclaim Your Authenticity. And it's a 12-week program that's taught by Jay. I might be teaching it. I'm going to pop in for a few days, but I might be there the whole time. We haven't decided yet. But this will be, it's a 12-week program. It's 2 hours a day on Thursdays from 4 o'clock Eastern, Pacific time, 7 o'clock Eastern time. And it starts on August 20th. And you will get a lot of your personal authenticity. A lot of what we do is help you remember. And in remembering dimension by dimension, it's amazing the growth that occurs on a one-on-one basis. And you're going to tell your stories and let us know where you want to take this, and we're going to share with you more. We're growing fast right now, so we have more programs coming up. And Adina just said, when you do what you love, it's not like work. And we all love the work we're doing with authenticity.
And Norma, I just want to reinforce one of your taglines, which is it's not about becoming authentic. It's about remembering the authenticity you were born with, and that's innate, naturally inside all of us.
Yes.
So I love that framing of the question. All
Well, it's
right.
so true. It's so true. I mean, my own experience, you know that I just moved from LA back to Detroit, which is my home. I spent 46 years in LA. And now that I'm back, I'm remembering stuff I had forgotten. And it's doing a big service to me to strengthen my authenticity, just to remember, because things I had forgotten. One main thing, I'll mention this and I'll stop, but one main thing that I had forgotten is that when I got out of college, that's when I realized that the field of early childhood didn't pay. And therefore, I had to become an administrator in order to get any money. And so I compromised myself that early in my career. And so all my time in Los Angeles for 46 years was as an administrator, as an entrepreneur, trying to be a business owner and all that. And really, I'm a researcher. So now I'm back to really researching my think side, which I really love. And I'm allowing others to do the other part. And that's all coming to my own authenticity. Now, you don't do that and then just abandon everything. You have to set it up. But as you begin to uncover, as you begin to remember who you really are and why you're discomfort in certain areas of your life, you have to make alignments in multiple ways. And then you have to stop adapting so much. Because what we do as human beings and things don't work out right, we just adapt. We adapt and adapt, and we adapt ourselves out of who we are. And so that's where the masks come that you got to start pulling off to get down to the core of who you really are. That's where the important part is.
Which is what we do in masterminds, right? We remove the masks so we can show up as who we really are.
Yeah.
So it's very aligned with a lot of what we're talking about today. So please make sure you grab Norma's gift. If you haven't already, put it back in the chat. Take the assessment. If you're a VIP, you take the assessment and get the clarity call with one of Norma's advisors. So don't miss that opportunity. Norma, I just want to thank you so much for showing up today and sharing your brilliance with the room. I appreciate you, and everything you're doing is amazing.
Thank you, Jay. I love when you say that. Thank you.
You get the J seal of approval. Yeah.
I got 2 J's on my team. I'm in good shape.
Awesome. All right. Thank you, Norma. Appreciate
Thank
you.
you. Thanks
We'll
for
see you
having me, Jay.
soon.
Thanks for inviting me.
All right, and let's bring up Aaron and Stephen. Let me know if you want to come. Aaron,
I don't
my
think he's here.
computer's lag.
Okay.
Yeah.
Spotlight for myself.
Yeah.
So it's been really good information today. I think, bringing back like the whole idea of getting more authenticity, just being you, like that's a really big deal. Like I think that the more you are you, the more people buy you. People, and she's talking about energy. People buy my energy all the time. I mean, when I do presentations, and even yesterday when I did mine, I sped through it because I knew I had to get on a call, but my energy, the excitement, the knowledge, all of those things, it's really just they're like, I want what she's having. And so if you can really just be your authentic self and let the walls down and show up in that way, people are like, I will follow you. And that's what leadership is. And so I love that we were talking about this because it really is something that I've worked on a lot in my life and really dug into what, what makes a leader magnetic. And it sounds weird, but I did a lot of studies into cults and cult leaders because, they have this ability to attract people, right? For them to give up their own values to be a part of a collective mind, right? And I was like, what does that take? And so I studied a lot around cult leaders and that magnetism that they have and what it was that they were doing because they are some of the most powerful people. Like to get, like, you give up whatever you believe in. No, people shouldn't kill, people shouldn't do this. But all of a sudden, your leader tells you to go do this and then they just do it. And I was like, what is this? Like leading, like these people are like blindfolded and they're just doing whatever the guy says. So it's definitely, I mean, don't go being a cult leader. I don't pour the Kool-Aid, okay? But it is that place of like, how do you become more magnetic? And a lot of the things that everybody's sharing here are really about that. And so we're gonna jump into our next speaker. And our next speaker, he really talks about influence, credibility, exposure. It's getting you on bigger stages. It's getting you to get the notoriety, we talked about being visible yesterday, but like that exposure to more of an audience. And so